The morning he had already lived. He woke up before the alarm. That almost never happened. Usually sleep held him tight, as if trying to protect him from another day filled with the same thoughts, the same numbers, the same quiet pressure in his chest. But this morning was different. The room was half dark. Street light leaked through the curtains, drawing pale lines across the ceiling. His phone lay face down on the nightstand. He didn't need to check it to know what was there. The time, a few missed messages, and another reminder about a payment he still didn't know how to cover. He stayed still, listening to his breathing. Then the thought came, clear, cold, uninvited. You've been here before. He frowned. That's nonsense, he whispered. But the thought didn't leave. It deepened. You know how this ends if nothing changes. He sat up. His heart wasn't racing from fear. It was racing from recognition, like opening a book and realizing you've already read this chapter. In the kitchen, the coffee machine hummed normally. That sound grounded him. Today, it didn't. He stared out the window, people walking fast, cars moving, the city doing what it always did, moving forward without him. And then another thought surfaced. Once you were poor, truly poor. He turned sharply, almost expecting someone behind him. I'm not rich now either, he said out loud, trying to laugh it off. But this wasn't about money the way he understood it today. Not credit cards, not subscriptions, not the gap between paychecks. This was older, deeper, a kind of poverty where there is no buffer, no safety, no next option. For a brief moment, an image flickered, not a memory, but something close enough to hurt. Dust, Sunday, empty hands. He rubbed his temples. I'm exhausted, he told himself. That's all. But the thoughts didn't care. He opened his banking app. The numbers looked familiar, too familiar. Salary in a few days. Most of it already spoken for. Rent, loan, utilities, food. And the same sentence he'd been telling himself for years. When I start earning more, everything will change. Something inside him pushed back. Number quiet. Firm. You've thought this before. And it didn't work. He leaned on the counter. When? He asked the empty room. When did I think that? No answer came instead. A weight, old, heavy, patient, a different life surfaced. Not this city, not this time. The world was simpler back then, and harsher. No apps, no algorithms, just work and mistakes. He had worked hard then too, harder than most, and he was convinced that was enough. I deserve more. I work harder than them. It will come. It never did. That was the first time he learned what real dead end felt like. The present snapped back into place. The coffee was cold. He sat down, staring at the cup. Life repeats itself, the thought said. Only the scenery changes. Today it was smartphones and bank accounts. Back then, grain and empty storage rooms. Same pattern, samey trap. For the first time, he didn't want to push the thoughts away. They didn't feel like anxiety. They felt like warnings. And then, without words, the first law made itself known. You never paid yourself. He winced. That's not true, he said. I pay rent. I pay bills. I survive. And that's when it hit him. He paid everyone. Banks, stores, services, other people, but never himself. In that other life, it had been the same. Money came in, money disappeared, and he honestly couldn't understand why years passed and nothing changed. Before you divide, the thought said, you must set aside. Something in his chest locked into place. Not excitement, not motivation, clarity. Pay yourself first, he said quietly. It sounded strange, almost selfish, but also undeniable. Another image rose from that other life. He stood among people just like him, all tired, all complaining, all waiting for a better moment. None of them moved first. He hadn't either. And he paid for that with years, He picked up his phone, opened his account setting, looked at the numbers without hope, just honesty. I don't know where you came from, he said to the thoughts, but if you're right, I'm not doing this again. The sun climbed higher. Another ordinary day had begun, but something was different, not externally, internally, memory without memories, experience without explanation, and the quiet sense that this time the loop could break. This was only the beginning. For the first time in his life, he wasn't rushing through the day. He was listening, and somewhere deep inside, he already knew this was only the first law, and the next ones would demand more.
The first test the decision didn't change anything immediately. No fireworks, no sudden money, no relief. The day still looked the same, but something had shifted, not in his bank account, in the way he looked at it. 3 days later, the salary came in. The notification appeared while he was standing in line at a convenience store. Coffee in one hand, phone in the other, salary received. For a second his body relaxed, it always did, that brief moment when the pressure loosened. When the month felt survivable again, he stepped aside, opened the app and stared at the number. And immediately the old reflex kicked in. Okay, rent first, then the loan, then groceries, then whatever is left. The familiar math started running in his head. And that's when the memory, or whatever it was, surfaced again. Not a voice, a feeling, a pause. Not this time. He swallowed. People moved past him. The cashier cleared his throat. He stepped outside. Cold air, noise, life moving. He looked at the number again. And for the first time, he did something that felt wrong. He took a small percentage, not impressive, not heroic, just deliberate, and he moved it to a separate place. A place he wasn't supposed to touch. When the transfer confirmed, his chest tightened, not from loss, from resistance. That resistance felt familiar, too familiar. And suddenly, the past pulled him in again. He stood in a crowded market, different life, different century, coins in his hand, bills waiting. He remembered that feeling perfectly. If I don't spend it now, something bad will happen. So he spent it, every time. He told himself he had no choice. But the truth was simpler. He was afraid to keep anything, because keeping meant responsibility, and responsibility meant fear. Back in the present, his phone buzzed. A message from a friend. Crypto pump tonight. Easy, double, you in. He stared at the screen. Perfect timing, almost too perfect. The past stirred again. He had seen this before. Different words, same promise. Fast, easy, no effort. That was how he'd lost money back then too. Not to work, to hope. He didn't reply. Not immediately. He went home instead, Saturday down, opened a notebook he hadn't used in years. Wrote one sentence at the top of the page. What is this money for? He stared at it. He had never asked that question before. Money had always been something to survive with, not something to command. Another line formed underneath. This is not spending money. That felt important. In the other life, he had never separated money. Everything lived in one pouch, and everything disappeared from it. That night, sleep came slowly. His mind kept testing him. What if you need it? What if something happens? What if you're being stupid? And then another memory. He saw himself at rock bottom, hungry, ashamed, and the thought he had back then, if I ever get out of this, I'll never live like this again. He had gotten out, but he had forgotten the promise. The next morning, the test continued. Coffee shop, menu board, prices. He hesitated, not because he couldn't afford it, because he finally saw the pattern's small leaks, daily, invisible. The past spoke again, without words. You don't get poor in one decision. You get poor in 1,000 tiny ones. He ordered smaller, Saturday down, watched people scroll through phones, chasing something. He felt strangely calm. Later that week, another test. A sale, a limited time offer. Old excitement tried to rise. And then clarity. In the other life, merchants had used the same trick, different language, same hook. Buy now. Fear later, he closed the tab, the resistance returned, then faded. That's when he understood the second part of the first law. Paying himself wasn't the hard part, defending it was. The world was designed to take it back quietly. With permission, that evening he checked the separate account. The number was small, almost laughable, but it was untouched. And that changed something fundamental. For the first time, money hadn't vanished. It had stayed. In the past life, this was where he had failed. He had saved once, then spent it just this once. Then again, until the pouch was empty and hope with it. He closed his phone, stood by the window. The city lights came on. Same city, different man. Not richer, not yet, but no longer asleep. The second law hadn't been spoken yet, but it was already taking shape. Not as advice, as experience. Income was not the problem, control was. And control, he was learning, was quiet, uncelebrated, boring, and powerful. Somewhere deep inside, the past nodded. Not approving testing, because the next law would demand something harder, not discipline, but courage.